Hello, everyone. Welcome back to All About America's Team, Episode 2. I'm Ray Nickens,
And I'm Owen DeChico.
and this is the podcast where we say everything Dallas Cowboys, whether it's the quarterback or the punter, we will talk about it. So you can find us at All About America's Team on Instagram and America's Team PC on Twitter. So this episode, I'm thinking we will be going through every game for the regular season, from the Bucks to the Eagles. But before that, Owen's got a few updates from around the league.
Okay, so the Chiefs, the Cowboys play them week 10, and Frank Clark, who is known for lining up on the opposite side of the line of scrimmage, was arrested for illegal possession of a firearm. And when I don't think that can have anything to do with our matchup, it's just something to watch out for because it usually takes defensive linemen a few weeks to get into the swing of things. Also, week 16, Xavier Collins, a rookie from Tulsa, who I actually wanted to pick in the first round, was arrested for reckless driving, and we will see how long both of them are suspended for coming up quickly. So, Ray, why don't we get right into it?
All right, sounds good. So first off, we got the Buccaneers, the reigning Super Bowl champions, Tom Brady, week 1. So this is a matchup where we get our first glimpses of the new Dak Prescott coming off his ankle surgery and versus Tom Brady, who we know will be prepared. So Owen, I'm going to let you go first and just break down what you think about the game, and then I'll follow up on you.
Okay. So I think that there are three big breakdowns in this game. As I know, everyone watched the Super Bowl, and if you saw, you knew that the Buccaneers destroyed the Chiefs' offensive line, and Patrick Mahomes ran for like 512 yards or something like that. So I think that a big thing in this game is Dallas's revamped offensive line versus Tampa's defensive line and their front seven. I think that if obviously Dak coming back his first game, I think that he's gonna, even though he may say he's not, I think he's gonna not want to lean on that ankle too much until later in the season when he feels more comfortable. So I think that if the offensive line gets destroyed, then Dak is going to be in for a very rude awakening, and hopefully he finds a way to get out of it. The other big breakdown for me is our defensive line versus their offensive line. I think that if you can get hands in Tom Brady's face, obviously he's not going to run away from it, and he's not like Lamar Jackson. He's going to be running up the field for like 30 yards. So if you can get in his face, I think that that's definitely something that could be very beneficial for this new Dallas Cowboy defense. Also, my third is our cornerbacks versus their wide receiving core. A lot of people say that they have a top 5 wide receiving core, and our cornerbacks are young, very young. And I think that this could be a really good week 1 test for them. I think the only way for your team to get better is to play against the best of the best, and that's what we're going to be doing week 1. What do you think about the game, Ray?
Yeah, I agree a lot with what you're saying about our offensive line versus their defensive line and their protection versus our pass rush. And what really sticks out to me, to be honest, is Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown, whether or not, not whether or not it's, if he stays out of trouble this offseason, he's going to be back for the Buccaneers. And we know what Antonio Brown was with the Steelers before he had all of his problems off the field. He was a top 5 receiver in the league. And second year with Tom Brady, knows the offense, back in shape, used to being a NFL wide receiver again. I think he can be a Pro Bowler this year. And
I was surprised they re-signed him.
I mean, Tom Brady probably had a lot to do with that, but I really think that Antonio Brown is going to be back to being the Antonio Brown that we saw on the field with Ben Roethlisberger. So pairing him with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin still, like you said, is going to be maybe the top 1 or 2 or 3 receiving corps in this league. And if we cannot get to Tom Brady, then they're just going to kill us on defense and run up the score on us. So I'm looking at Shaquille Barrett, White, their
linebacking core.
Yeah, I'm looking Devin White. I'm looking at
JPP.
If
our offensive line can't stop them, it's going to be a very rough 60 minutes.
It's going to be a Horatius, 60 minutes. I'm looking for their Antonio Winfield Jr. at safety.
Oh yeah.
I mean, their cornerbacks are exceptionally good. This team is. We're going to be talking about the Washington football team later on in the show, but this team is definitely the most rounded football team in the NFL and should be a Super Bowl favorite everywhere. But I mean, I want to see what Dak looks like because he's going to get come after all game. Look, Lyle Collins and Tyron Smith are great tackles, but they're. This pass rush is going to be coming after them every single play. They're going to be blitzing them. They're going to be showing them different looks. Linebackers are good enough to, stay disciplined. They're going to know their gaps. Everyone's going to be prepared. So, honestly, I don't think the Cowboys are going to be ready for the Bucs. I mean, they're going to have all this time to prepare, but I still don't think they're going to be ready for the Bucs. So
I think they will. I don't know if they're. I definitely think they're going to blow them out. I think they'll be ready. I think that a full off season with Mike McCarthy is going to be very different than an off season with Jason Garrett. Jason Garrett would never have his teams ready, but I think that this team has a lot to prove, and how there's no better way to prove it than going out week 1 and beating the reigning champs.
But we don't think that's going to happen.
Who knows? And any given Sunday.
Yeah, that's a very good point. We both. I mean, our listeners, all of y'all, you'll learn that Owen and I have very different opinions on Mike McCarthy. Me, I don't like him much as a coach. I didn't want him when he was hired. I feel like he's a product of his good quarterback play, and who knows? Maybe Dak will, boost Mike McCarthy's stock like Aaron and Brett Favre did. Who knows? But I mean,
Aaron Rodgers hasn't been anything since Mike McCarthy left, but that's a different conversation for a very different day. So why don't we get into week 2 against the Chargers?
Real quick, I say the Cowboys don't win. 37-17. Pencil that score in, Owen.
So if they're starting off 0-1, how do you think they do against Herbert, which is one of your favorite quarterbacks, up and coming?
You are absolutely right. Justin Herbert is one of my favorites, along with a lot of the young quarterbacks in this league. I'm thinking this is going to be a shootout type game. I think the Chargers offense is a stacked offense. They got a lot of playmakers. They have Keenan Allen. Austin Eckler is going to be healthy. Justin Herbert's got Slater at left tackle. That's going to be a really huge acquisition for them to protect the quarterback. He's going to feel, protected, and that's one of my matchups. I got D-Law and Slater. Will Slater be able to take him one-on-one? Because if they don't have to double team D-Law, I think they can contain the Dallas pass rush to us a lot better than they would if they couldn't. If they had to double team them.
I think he'll be going up against Randy Gregory a lot of that game.
Randy Gregory?
He'll be going up against, because Slater's left tackle, so he'll be going up against Randy Gregory a lot. Well, Randy Gregory and some platoon guys, but
okay.
They really fixed their offensive line in the draft. So
it's
interesting to see how they're going to be week 2.
I mean, this Chargers team was a tough play for anybody last year, and they were in a lot of games, and they lost at the end because of you could call it poor coaching. You could call it not having that one extra player to make one extra play. But I feel like the Chargers are going to be a playoff team this year. Season 2 for Herbert got it. They boosted their defense. They have Derwin James is coming back. Joey
Yeah, come
Bosa
back
will
off
be
that injury.
there. Chris Harris Jr.'s in Los Angeles. Asante Samuel Jr. they picked up in the draft. So I think they're gonna have a boosted defense, and I'm staying shootout, and I'm saying I'm gonna take the Chargers. Cowboys are a little worse on defense. I'm gonna take the Chargers 38-29.
Yeah, I think a big part of that game is going to be stopping Keenan Allen, because I think Keenan is going to have a big year because no one's given him the respect he deserves. He's always been a very underrated wide receiver. So I think that he's going to be out just coming for cornerbacks and dropping a lot of them. So we'll see.
Yeah,
But
and also look at Joey Bosa too. Joey Bosa is a top pass rusher in this league, and he's going to be. I know for sure he'll be against Tyron Smith because he's going to be coming off the right. So that's going to be a key matchup. Will Tyron Smith, coming off all those back problems, still having back problems, be able to contain Joey Bosa? He's getting up in age. So when it would not be a question mark earlier on 4 years ago, it's a question mark now. So we'll have to see. Because if he can't stay in front of Joey Bosa at this age, then Dak's gonna get hit a ton off that left side. And this season is all about keeping Dak Prescott upright. Because if they can't keep him upright, then he's gonna be hitting the ground. He's got that ankle. He's not Superman anymore in the sense that he's very durable. He's coming off that catastrophic injury. So his health is not an absolute fact anymore. So they got to protect him this year. That's very important.
True. And now going into our first division matchup against the Eagles, week 3, I think that this is going to be a very big game for Dallas and both teams, because last year the East was determined one of the worst divisions in all of NFL history. So I think that all 4 teams will be coming into the season with a chip on their shoulder to prove to everyone else that they're not the worst division in the league. My key matchup here is Devonta Smith, Hurts' new brand new toy out wide receiver, versus our brand new cornerback Kelvin Joseph. Both of them faced each other in college, and it was Devonta Smith's worst game, as probably one of his worst games at Alabama. Joseph locked him down, and I think it'll be a very good matchup, because if he runs all over our defense, then Hurts is going to have a field day. Another matchup for me is our defensive line versus their offensive line. A lot of people have said that Philly has one of the best offensive lines. Another one is both trenches, our offensive line versus their defensive line. Them getting Ryan Kerrigan from the football team in the offseason was a really big acquisition for them. And just the Philly-Dallas games are always really tough for both sides. Doesn't matter if the Eagles are the best or the worst team, or if the Cowboys are the best or the worst team. Both teams are going to give it their best shot. And I think that Dallas is going to put a W on this one and make themselves on their way to to a division championship. How do you feel about this game, Ray?
I have the same result as you do. I have the Cowboys breaking into that win column, getting their first win, improving to 1-2. I'm penciling in your matchup as well, Devonta Smith and Joseph. And one of my questions is not even a Cowboys player. It's the Eagles' second receiver, Jalen Reagor, who they drafted 2 drafts ago. Will he step up in his second year? Because a lot of people were disappointed, especially Philly fans, in his performance. Will Jalen Hurts at quarterback improve his stock as a receiver in this league. Ultimately, I think him and Devontae Smith are going to have their plays in this game. The Cowboys defense, especially their secondary, is still very young. They're going to make mistakes, and Devontae Smith and Rager are going to capitalize on the mistakes.
Yeah.
However, I'm looking at this game to be Micah Parsons' welcome to the NFL game, in the sense that he steps up incredibly huge and wreaks havoc everywhere. I'm gonna say right now he's gonna recover a fumble, and I'm saying he's gonna fight everywhere. He's gonna lead the team in tackles this game, and he's gonna get a sack on Hurts. And I ultimately have Cowboys winning this game by 14, 34-20.
Also, Devontae and Diggs went up against each other a lot in practice because they're both from Alabama. So I think both of them know a little bit about each other.
Yeah, that'll be interesting too. Diggs is going to be talking to the defensive team about Smith, and Smith is going to be doing the same with his guys against Diggs. So that would be something to watch.
Definitely.
But yeah, moving on to week 4, we got the Cowboys, we got the Panthers. The motto man, Sam Darnold, is returning for this time he's got a little bit of a better squad. He's got Christian McCaffrey will be back healthy as of today. He will be back healthy. He's got Robbie Anderson, who by luck was on that Jets team when the Jets handed the Cowboys that embarrassing loss, to be frank. And Sam Darnold's got DJ Moore. Their receiving core is not the best receiving core in the league, but it is a receiving core that you have to give respect, because Robbie Anderson can fly, and DJ Moore is the more physical receiver, and he has to be paid attention to as well. But I'm really looking at this game, at the defense for the Panthers. The Panthers, they have their front seven for sure. Son Reddick, 12.5 sacks. He was with the Cardinals last year. He's now in Carolina. And then I have Brian Burns, who had 9 sacks. So they're the defensive ends on this Panthers team. And they will be going up against Tyron Smith and Leo Collins, the tackles. That's my matchup I'm looking at. Can the tackles stay in front of the defensive ends and keep Dak Prescott upright and give him time in the pocket? And also, I'm looking at the Panthers' corner, their secondary, J.C. Horn, A.J. Boye, and Eli Apple, who is not a great corner. They get that out there right now. He is not a great corner, but he's a veteran. He's going to be the third corner on this secondary. And if they can't stop Christian McCaffrey and Sam Darnold can play action, it's going to be a long day for the Cowboys defense, even though the Cowboys defense, I think, is the more talented group. But Christian McCaffrey will be the X factor. So that's what I'm looking at. I'll give my final score after you go, Owen. What do you think?
I think J.C. Horn, who is a very physical rookie, I think that him and Cooper, I think that both of us can agree that Cooper isn't really headstrong mentally. I just don't think that road games and going up against tough opponents, sometimes he takes himself out of games mentally. And I think that if Horn can get in his head, that'll be very big. Because I think ever since Amari Cooper's been on this team, Dak has kind of looked at him to make big plays when he needs them most. And if Horn is locking him up, then it'll be very interesting. So I also think McCaffrey versus Micah Parsons. I think that they're going to want your fastest guy on the defense, which is Micah, up against McCaffrey, sort of like what the Cowboys did a few years ago when they beat the Saints, when they had Jordan Lewis spying Alvin Kamara. I think that'll be something they do. And also our cornerbacks versus their wide receivers. I think, and mainly every single game, some of the biggest breakdowns are wide receiver, cornerbacks, and offensive line versus defensive linemen. So I think that by week 4, you should have some identity of what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are, and hopefully we have more strengths and weaknesses at this point in time in the year.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on your JC Horn. I definitely think that he's the number corner in Carolina, especially since AJ Boye, when he was with the Jaguars, he was that second option with Jalen Ramsey, the number one option following the number one receiver. So I'm saying as of right now, JC Horn will be on Amari Cooper, and I'm going to have AJ Boye on CeeDee Lamb because I think CeeDee Lamb is going to have a way bigger role in this offense. And, Michael Gallup, while he's good, he's going to be that third option just based on talent. And I mean, Eli Apple, I don't know if Eli Apple can stay with Michael Gallup. That remains to be seen.
Not.
But that remains to be seen. But I think he's going to be on him. And it's really going to come down to, like you said, JC Horn and Amari Cooper. If JC Horn can take Amari Cooper out of this football game, it's going to be really hard for the Cowboys to win this game, I feel like.
Yeah. I think the best part about having 3 number 1 wide receivers is that you don't even have to worry about who's the best. It's just what the defense gives you. If the defense is sort of doubling Cooper and they're having a linebacker also look over at Lamb, and if Gallup's just a one-on-one the whole game, then you give him 10 targets. It just depends game by game. Unless you have 3 really solid cornerbacks like the Giants and some other teams do, it's going to be whatever the defense gives you. But speaking of the Giants, they are week 5.
Really quick. Unfortunately, our listeners are going to hate me, but don't worry. I improve my thoughts on the Cowboys later on this schedule, but I have Sam Darnold beating us again, 31-30. Sorry, guys. We're 1-3. On.
Well, it's
better, I promise.
This early in the year, we haven't even got the training camp yet, so we'll see after that what really our depth chart's going to be. But
yeah, I know. Who knows? I might even change my mind. But as of right now, 1-3. Moving on.
Going into week 5, this is a big game for Dak. I think this is definitely going to be this is New York has a top 3 secondary in the whole league, and in years past, especially Dak's rookie year, he was not good against the Giants, and sometimes Dak can get a little hectic with the ball. Hopefully, in year 5, he'll in the late back a few years in, he'll do better with that. But hopefully, he won't be throwing the ball off to anyone with a dark blue jersey. I think another one is Daniel Jones, who I think will be the Achilles heel of the Giants team. I don't think that he will. I think if I ask anyone what all they know about Daniel Jones, it's going to be him running up the field and then stumbling at the 15-yard line. I think that is his defining moment. And I think, like you said before, about the Panthers quarterback when he said that he was seeing ghosts, I think that Daniel Jones will be seeing a lot of ghosts this game. I also think Saquon Barkley, coming off his injury, he will want to come back and have a monster game. And I think that him going up against Micah Parsons, 2 guys from Penn State, it'll be a really key matchup for them. They're 2 very physical players, and I think it'll dictate how the game goes. Because I remember in years past, Jones would always just throw a little pass behind the line of scrimmage to Barkley, and he'd get 10 yards, and no one could tackle him. But I think if anyone can tackle him on this team, it'd be Micah. So hopefully he can prove me right.
Yeah, I agree with you. This especially with how I have the Cowboys at this point. Owen's more of giving you kind of a breakdown, and I'm actually giving record and score. As of right now, I have the Cowboys 1-3 going into this game versus the Giants. So this is a must-win game for the Dallas Cowboys, in my opinion. This is the make or break game of the season. I think this first matchup versus the Giants at home. We know that we both know, or everyone who's following the Cowboys knows that the Giants defense is, exceptional, along with the Washington's defense, who we'll get to later, but especially their secondary. Xavier McKinney at safety, Jabril Peppers at safety, Dory Jackson at corner, James Bradbury at corner, and then Leonard Williams on the defensive line. And I haven't even gotten into the linebackers yet. But this secondary is probably, other than the Bucs secondary and the football team's secondary, this secondary can match up with the Cowboys receivers very well. And I'm going to focus on the Giants offense, which is very overlooked in my opinion. Saquon Barkley is going to be back. They signed Kenny Golladay. They still have Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton, who are competent receivers. John Ross, we have not seen John Ross a lot at all in his career. A lot consider him a bust. I consider him a bust, but he's still a factor. If he had a good camp and this could be his breakout year. And with a team like the Giants, who have a ton of weapons, he can get loose a few times. And also their wide receiver signing, Kadarius Toney. He made plays with Florida. He was kind of that guy who was lost with Kyle Pitts dominating everyone, but he's a threat at receiver. So the Cowboys defense are going to have their hands full, and it's honestly going to come down to whether or not they can get to Daniel Jones, in my opinion, because I feel like Daniel Jones is a average quarterback in the NFL, and he hasn't been helped with, the offensive line and his protection, and he's fumbled a lot, made a lot of mistakes. But if they can protect him with the weapons around them, and he can, transition, make that next step, then the Giants the Giants are a playoff team. He's really the deciding factor. But
yeah,
with all that being said, Cowboys, I have the Cowboys getting this victory. Cowboys are going to win this game 31-26. They'll win it tight, but they're going to win this game. They're going to control the clock. They're going to play a little bit better defense, and they're going to walk out with the win and get back to 2-3 and, get back into the race for the NFC.
Which is good because it puts them at 2-0 in the division, which is always good.
Yeah, that's very important.
Yeah. Going into week 6 against the Patriots, it's a very interesting matchup because I have no idea who's going to be playing quarterback, either Mac Jones or Cam Newton. I saw a video of minicamp, I think it was, and Cam Newton tried to throw a ball in the back right of the end zone, and he completely whiffed. I don't know if that was like designed or what, but it was a bad throw.
So that's, I mean, it's a lot of people are like, why would a errant throw be designed? But I mean, knowing Bill Belichick, he could have been like, hey Cam, the cameras are watching. I need you to airmail this guy. I need you to make it look like you are so bad that we will be playing a rookie week 1. So we don't even know. But
speaking of errant throws, did you hear that the Ravens they can't videotape Lamar Jackson throwing balls anymore because I think he threw a wobbly ball and people were saying that he was really bad at throwing. So Harbaugh made sure that they can't videotape him throwing the ball anymore. But
it's all right. He can still run all over everyone.
That's true. Going into another matchup for this, they signed a lot of tight ends, and I think that knowing Belichick, you could have all of their tight end signees. Hunter Henry, he was really good for the Chargers back when he was a rookie in his first few years. But I think that if you can stop their tight ends, it'll just be. I think that's probably one of the deciding factors. Also, I hope Dak does not try to throw it at Gilmore. I hope that is the last thing he does. Gilmore can just stop. He could catch everything. Also, I think that Gibral Cox, who is a linebacker out of LSU that the Cowboys drafted. A lot of people said that he was the best coverage linebacker in the draft. If you can put him on one of those tight ends, then I will feel much better about this matchup.
Really quick, is it LSU or Michigan where he came from?
LSU.
Okay, just making sure. I thought it was Michigan, but I just wanted to clear that up. But yeah, do you have anything else on that game before I
I just hope that when they played a few years ago, the weather was really bad. So I hope that the weather is not bad, because the Patriots are designed to play in bad weather. The Cowboys are not designed to play bad weather. So that can
is this the game in Foxborough?
I'm not sure.
So while I go, do you want to Google that?
Yeah.
All right. So I like Owen said, we don't know who's going to be the quarterback at this time. It could be Cam, it could be Mac Jones. Who knows? But whether or not who is quarterback, the Patriots are very limited at the skill position on their offense.
It's in Foxborough.
Okay. Yeah, that'll I mean, here comes the bad weather by design, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, the Pats have nice running backs. They got Harris and Sony Michel. But I mean, like I said, they're very limited at wide receiver. Jacoby Myers, not very good. N'Keal Harry on, bust potential. Like, he's been horrible. But it looks like Bill Belichick wants to build an offense based on the play of the tight end, signing Jonnu Smith, who was a very good tight end in Tennessee. He was Tannehill's best friend, other than Derrick Henry. And then Hunter Henry, he was a very competent tight end. So having that two-headed monster at tight end is going to put a lot of stress on the Cowboys' young linebackers. By this point, I feel like Micah Parsons is going to, instill his starting position. He's going to be started playing a lot of snaps. And then also, like Owen said, Gibral Cox, I feel like he's going to be on the field a lot. Whether or not Vander Esch is healthy, whether he'll play, but I don't think Jalen Smith is going to see a lot of time by week 6. I feel like the young guys are going to be more relied on in the offense, especially at linebacker. But yeah, I feel like I really have no idea what's going to happen in this game, because the Patriots, they have Jalen Mills at corner, Stephon Gilmore, Hightower at linebacker, Van Noy from the Dolphins. He's a decent linebacker, and then McCourty is coming back. So the Patriots have that really good balanced defense that you need to play the Dallas Cowboys. And I mean, this team, with all of those guys who opted out of COVID and a pretty lackluster team, was 7-9 and could have well been 9-7 last year. So it's really like this. I mean, an extra year of a more developed offseason. Maybe Mac Jones is a better option than Cam Newton at this time. Maybe he gets something out of N'Keal Harry that Cam Newton could not get out of N'Keal Harry, or whatever. But I mean, this is one of those games that is a crapshoot. It could be a loss, it could be a win, it could be a blowout win for all we know. Yeah. But I mean,
hopefully it's not raining.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully it's not raining. But yeah, I'm honestly, for now, at this moment, I'm going to take the better coach and roll with the Patriots. Okay. Just based on coaching. That's it. Okay. The Cowboys have the better they have the better quarterback for sure. They have the better running back for sure. They have the better wide receivers for sure. But I'm just going to go. I feel like Belichick's sitting in his freaking zombie apocalypse basement right now, like, was some way to beat every single team, and you're more likely to be successful in your game plan versus the Dallas Cowboys just by nature than you are any other team. I feel. And I hate to say that as a fan, but we lost to the Jets a couple of years ago. So
this is true. Going into week 7, and Cowboys and Vikings games are always a toss-up. But before I get into that, one of their rookies, Jalen Tweeman, was shot 4 times while visiting his aunt. So that will hopefully he recovers quickly. But that'll be very big for their team because they always had a very good front four, dating back to 2016 when Dak.
Dating back to 2009 with Jared Allen. Good God.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully, but besides that, going into much better news, this game, it's all I think for me is how many yards will Cousins throw for? Because he can drop like close to 500 one week and then be a dud the next. I also think that this is going to be a good game for CD to say that he is better than any of their wide receivers. I think it'll just be. I think by week 7, hopefully this defense can be gelled better, and hopefully they'll be able to assert their dominance and get in Cousins' face. I think that this team is they're used to playing Cousins, so hopefully they'll be able to come out with a W, because we're getting into the middle of the season now, and with the end of our schedule being how difficult it is, I think that getting these wins here are very necessary.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah. Cowboys Vikings. It's been a reoccurring theme the last 3 or 4 years. We know Vikings, great offense. Dalvin Cook is going to be there. Justin Jefferson's going to be there. Adam Thielen is still there. And so Kirk Cousins has his weapons. He's going to have his weapons. I don't understand Owen's hate for Justin Jefferson. The man does his job. The man.
I never said I hated him. I just think that CD had a much better year. CD almost had 1,000 yards with 4 different quarterbacks. I also think that CD is the first option on any other team, but he's, like I said before, depending on the game, he could be the first option, second option, third option, or fourth option. And he still got over 1,000 all-purpose yards. So I think with a healthy quarterback, Justin, in my opinion, the only reason why he started to become popular was because he used to dance into the end zone, which the NFL Instagram page loved. So I think that CD, he keeps to himself, which I love. I think the best thing about our wide receivers is that they're not arrogant and divas. They keep to themselves. I think Amari Cooper is best known for playing chess besides playing football, which I love.
Oh, by the way, if you didn't know, Micah Parsons likes chess as well. And Micah Parsons took out Amari Cooper.
Which he did love.
Micah Parsons is becoming a very feared man in the locker room, which is something that I want immediately. So
yeah, I just think that it'll be these games are always good. I remember when they played 2 years ago, we watched that game together. It was a very close game, and then Dallas just couldn't come back and win it.
Yeah, it was one of those games where Dak threw it in the dirt.
Yeah, so hopefully this time around is very different than 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was not one of his shining moments, I will say, as the Dallas Cowboys quarterback.
Yeah,
but yeah,
was a rough year.
But yeah, I think Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen are both going to have big games, and I think Dalvin Cook's going to have a big game. But I think the Cowboys are going to win. Their defense is better. I feel like the Vikings defense is handicapped this year. They're not as good as they usually are on defense. So I got Dallas scoring above 30 points again, 31-25, improved their record to 3-4. And week 8, moving on to week 8, Broncos Cowboys. I don't have very much on this game. I just wrote down if Aaron Rodgers is there, Cowboys lose. If not, Dallas wins easily, 34-14, go to 4-4. And I'm just going to, for the rest of the schedule, I'm just going to say Aaron Rodgers is not there. So Cowboys get to 500. I mean, if you have much to say about the Broncos game, go ahead. If not, week 9.
So their secondary is also one of the better secondaries. Secondary is very scary. They did a lot in the draft, getting the guy from Alabama. They also did a lot of signing. They also have Justin Simmons, who I wanted the Cowboys to sign, but they ended up giving him a tag. I have a lot of keys. I think stopping Judy, stopping at least one of these 3. Judy, Sutton, who was injured last year, so him coming back, he's going to want to come back and play hard. And Noah Fant, he's a really good tight end. I also think that the Cowboys' offensive line cannot get dominated by Chubb and or Miller. It just cannot happen. If you let both of them get to Dak, game is pretty much over. Also, Denver just has one of the better corner teams, corner duos, trios, whatever you want to call it, in the league, along with the Giants, which I think is good for this team, especially since how young they are and how many rookies they're going to need to show up. I think playing a team that isn't the best, but is very good at one thing or two things, pass rush and their secondary. I think that doing that to be very good for this team. But we don't have anything else to say. We can go right into the Falcons game.
I mean, their defense is great. Bradley Chubb will be back, or I mean, he won't be back. He'll be back again, and then, gosh, Miller is just a freak. And Cowboys are going to be going up against the cornerback that I wanted. So he's going to be in Denver. But I mean, with that being said, they could have the greatest team in the world, but their quarterback is still Drew Lock. And Drew Lock is a bad quarterback. He is like a bottom 5 quarterback in the league. And honestly, this is a Jets game. Like, if the Cowboys lose to the Broncos and Aaron Rodgers is not their quarterback, that will be one of the games where we come on here for the post-game reaction, and I will be slamming Dak Prescott, saying he makes $40 million and he couldn't beat a bottom 5 quarterback in the NFL. And Owen will probably say, well, we couldn't, our offensive line was terrible. And I'm like, well, it's still Drew Lock. You got to beat Drew Lock. It's important to me. It's important to my health, my well-being. Like, you have to beat Drew Lock. It's very important to me. So, Dak, if you're, watching, please beat Drew Lock. Do it for me.
Going into week 9, this is Dan Quinn going up against his former team. And I think that Dan is going to know a little bit about the Falcons, and the Falcons are obviously going to know a little bit about Dan. So hopefully he can mix up his defensive schemes so we don't look like a very bad team.
I think look like fools.
Yeah. I think with Julio Jones being shipped out, I think that Ridley will be a top 5 to top 10 wide receiver this year.
I agree with you.
I also you have to stop either him or Kyle Pitts. One of them are going to have it. Week 9, Kyle Pitts will have asserted himself as the starting tight end, obviously, and one of the better tight ends. So hopefully, we gotta stop one of the two. And Matt Ryan's going to be Matt Ryan. Also, I hope that hopefully by week 9, our offensive line is still intact. Because I do not want to have a repeat game like 2018 and have Grady Jarrett just run all over the Cowboys offensive line. That game was very painful, as we talked about last week's episode. You also can't let Deion Jones, their stud linebacker, get comfortable. Dak is he's not going to be able to just look at Amari and throw it to him, because Deion will look at his eyes and he'll be a ball hawk, and he was named one of the better linebackers in the league a few years ago, and I still think that he is that. Hopefully this game is not like the game that it was last year, because that game cost a lot on my mental health. The darn watermelon kick, all that. Hopefully, I'm looking for my predictions for this game going into week 9. Hopefully, our defense will be middle of the pack. Last year, they were one of the worst. I don't think they're going to be top 10 like they were a few years ago, but I think that they'll be middle of the pack. If this defense can be middle of the pack, when the offense being as talented as they are, I think that this could be a really good game for them to like their coming out party, to show everyone else how dominant they can be.
Yeah, going back here, hold on, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And they're going to have to, before going into week 10 against the Chiefs, they're going to have a big game here, but we can get into that after this.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that. But yeah, that's really important. That's really important what you said about the defense being middle of the pack, because, a lot of our listeners, they're like, gosh, Ray, you're such a hater. You're picking Dallas to lose all these games. I thought you were a fan, blah, blah, blah. I'm the more like objective fan on this show. I've seen a lot. I've watched a lot of Cowboys games, and I've been hurt a lot by a lot of Cowboys games. And I have laid in my bed and cried after Cowboys games, preferably 2014 when where Tony Romo got blue balled out of a national championship, or not national, NFC championship game.
Yeah.
But going against Seattle, and probably his best chance at a Super Bowl, he was blue balled and it was taken away from him. But we don't have to talk about that game anymore, because it is
too much pain.
It is too much pain. Maybe we will have a show all about where we break down one of those games, and before this season comes up, because there's a lot of time before the regular season. But anyway, moving away from that horrible pain, back to the game against the Falcons. I'm looking at Kyle Pitts and the Dallas linebackers and safeties. I think Kyle Pitts is going to have a field day. Like, when I say field day, I'm talking about he will look like the best tight end in football based on one game. I think Gibral Cox is going to be – they're probably going to try and put him on Kyle Pitts, and I don't think he's going to be ready.
You're going to have to double him, because he's way too big. You're going to have to double him.
I mean, are they going to
have to put a safety on too? If you can put Donovan Wilson, and if you can put Cox.
Yeah, I mean, I think Matt Ryan is gonna, love life that game, throwing to Kyle Pitts. He's gonna feel like he did when he had his MVP year. He's gonna be loving life. He's gonna be throwing the ball to Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is gonna be running all over us. I'm going to be having heart attacks every time he catches the ball.
Because that defense, some of the better defenders went to Dallas in free agency.
The Achilles boys.
Yeah, the Achilles brothers. So they're gonna need Matt's gonna have to have one of his better games.
Yeah, I think Matt Ryan's I feel like the Falcons offensive line is always fairly good. Alex Mack's gonna be at center. He's a very reliable center. I think he's gonna be very well protected. Mike Davis, who filled in a lot for Christian McCaffrey. He'll have it. I think he's pick up. I think he's gonna have a decent game. And like I said, I'm not trying to hate. Our defense is just extremely young. We have a very young defense, young defenses are not very disciplined because they're young. So a lot of mistakes that wouldn't happen with a veteran team are going to be made by this defense. And with a veteran quarterback, Matt Ryan, who is looking to, prove himself,
in a very tough division.
Very tough division. He's, he probably feels like he's being forgotten. He's probably getting a lot of hate for, losing a ton of games. Falcons being known as, chokers, blowing a ton of leads against the Cowboys for one. He's going to be looking for a bounce back year. Calvin Ridley, I agree with you. Breakout season. He's going to be the number one option. Russell Gage, who you didn't mention, but I think he's a very competent receiver. He's going to be a number 2 receiver now that Julio's gone. So, I think that the Cowboy, I think this is going to be another shootout. Both teams are going to score over 40 points. And I think the Falcons are ultimately going to get the upset. I think the Cowboys are going to be favored by everywhere, and I think the Falcons are going to get the upset. Matt Ryan's going to throw a touchdown pass to guess who? Kyle Pitts to win the game at the end.
Interesting. So what does that bring us to?
By the way,
record-wise?
4-5.
Okay.
By the way, Dak Prescott will not turn the football over, but it won't matter because the defense will have their worst game of the year.
Now, going into what I believe is their toughest game of the year, going and playing good old Patty Mahomes, who has a brand new offensive line.
And he also has a brand new spot on the Madden cover.
He does. So I think that their only chance of winning this game if it's a shootout. Going into week 10, they're going to be every team's going to be a little nicked up. So going into our week 10 preview, we can talk about that. But I think that as of right now, their only chance of winning this game is a shootout. Dak, as you and I both talked about, usually, I don't know if he mentally falls asleep for quarters 1 and 2, but he's going to have to go into quarter 1 and all the way to quarter 4 is being Dak Prescott. He's going to have a very big game. I like to say this may be a future Super Bowl matchup preview. So in the future, maybe.
I'm just gonna ignore that and not say anything because if I say something, I might be considered a fake fan. So I'm just gonna not say anything. I'm just gonna zip my mouth, throw away the key, and let you keep going.
This game is also going to be later in the season. And obviously, like I've been saying for every single game, the defense is going to this defense cannot let Tyreek Hill throw up a peace sign at all. They cannot let him. At all. They just can't let him. I am anyone but him. Anyone but him. So I don't even know. This game's going to be very interesting. And like I said before, Frank Clark arrested. Hopefully he'll be playing because I'd like to see us play them at their best. And yeah, even like last year, they lost to the Raiders. And the Raiders are not as good as a team as the Chiefs are by any means.
No, they're not.
But it's the best thing about football on any given Sunday. So I think that hopefully by week 10, they're either number 1 in the division or number 2, like a game or 2 games out. Mm-hmm. But this is going to be a game that they're going to need to at least lose by one possession. Because if it's more than that, then they have no chance of doing anything this year. It's going to be another throwaway year.
Yeah. I wrote down in all caps my main point. If the Cowboys want to win this football game, they have to control the clock. They have to run the football well. They have to control the time of possession.
Zeke and Tony both have very big games.
Yeah, they have to keep Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill on the sideline. Because if they keep them on the sideline, the Cowboys defense will get to rest. They'll get fewer possessions on the field, and it will give them a better chance to get turnovers because they'll be fresh, and it'll allow them to gamble on defense in that secondary, especially because if they're on the field a ton, then they can't really gamble because if they're like, oh, we're gonna give up that big play and they're going to score a touchdown again. But if the Cowboys can control the clock and run the football well, then they absolutely have a chance to win this football game. Absolutely have a chance. And it's Dak versus Mahomes. Dax has that huge contract. I believe he's the second highest paid player other than Mahomes. Correct? It's Mahomes and then Dak. Yeah. So it's another one of those games where you're paid that money. You gotta beat Mahomes, and
the numbers for paying are going to change because Lamar has to get paid at some point in time.
Right.
And so does.
And then Lamar might. And the Ravens might just say, "We're not paying Lamar. We'll try again." Like we don't know. But I also wrote down Tyreek Hill. I said Tyreek Hill versus secondary because that's really what it will be. Not one player on the Cowboys can cover Tyreek Hill because nobody can cover Tyreek Hill.
They can all run with him. Kelvin had a sub 4.3. I'm sure that Tyreek has a 4.2, 4.1, but it's something. But also,
if they can run with him, that's great. But I still don't think they can cover.
Yeah. I would also rather have. I think that out of defensive and offensive coordinators, I think Dan Quinn is better at his job than Eric Bieniemy is at his job. So, Eric doesn't really. I don't even know what he does, but I think that we have the better coordinator out of the two, which could also fare well for us.
Yeah, like Dan Quinn was the Falcons' defensive. He controlled the defense last year, and the Falcons were kind of poo-poo on defense. But
also, there wasn't really good personnel. But
that's besides the point. I think Dan Quinn's gonna, he's gonna have a better year as the defensive coordinator.
100%.
But this is not going to be the game that he has his better. This game will not define his success because, bottom line, I think Dallas will have the ability, will control the clock for a half. They can do it. I feel like Zeke's gonna, come out with some fire. Tony Pollard's gonna come out with some fire because Dak is a competent pass. His fifth year, he should be a competent passer, and I think he's a competent passer. He can throw. He has improved his yards per attempt. In my opinion, he's throwing it a little bit more down the field. But I don't think the Cowboys are going to win a shootout. That's why I said they have to control the clock. So I think the first half they're going to do a great job of doing that and do exactly what I said. And they're going to. And I honestly had halftime. But I think the Cowboys are going to do what they always do and get past. And especially, it's not even their fault. It's a pass heavy league nowadays. So they're going to try and pass a little bit more. They're going to try and have that high delight, exciting because Jerry Jones is still controlling everything. And I think they're going to lose in a close one possession game, like you said, 33-26.
Which I'm fine with if they can do that. Because the Chiefs, their expectations are to go 16-0 and then win the Super Bowl and have an undefeated season. Mm-hmm. So if you can even, I would feel a lot better about myself if they only lost by one possession rather than by a blowout. But speaking of the Chiefs and the Raiders going into week 11. They do play the Raiders. And I think one of the bigger things about this game is for some reason the Raiders, it could be the worst wide receiver in the draft class, but if he can run a 4.3 or faster, they're going to pick him. Mm-hmm. So I think that you're going to need to stop their fast wide receivers. I also think that this may be a comeback year for Khalil Mack. ever since being traded there, he kind of hasn't been as dominant as he has recently.
Really quickly, sorry to interrupt. Khalil Mack is in Chicago.
Oh yeah. Yeah, scratch that.
Yeah, not to interrupt. I just I just wanted to
about
stop
that.
you. I just wanted to stop you before you got any further with that.
Stopping Darren Waller. That's gonna be something big for them.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah. Oh, it's been a very long day.
Likewise.
Yeah. Our offensive line's gonna have to have a big game against their whole team. If our offensive line can do well, then we'll be looking pretty. Because Carr is a good quarterback, but he's never. Besides that one year where he was an MVP candidate and then he tore his ACL or had a really big injury. Hopefully, I don't think that he's ever been as dominant as that. So hopefully they can play well and assert their dominance. I also think Dak going up against that secondary because they also have some good safeties. So.
Yeah, I didn't write down much for this game. I'm very confident that the Cowboys will win. So I just put Cowboys 27-19 and get back to one game below 500. I'm confident that they can beat the Raiders.
Okay. Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean if they lose to the Raiders, it just we can come back. It'll be another one of those games where I'm like 40 million, Dak, 40 million. But yeah, moving on. Cowboys Saints. This is a very interesting game because normally I'd say Saints are going to win because they have Drew Brees, but Drew Brees is no longer an NFL quarterback anymore because he retired. So this game is a lot about what will the Saints look like? What will their identity be now? Because they don't have the Drew Brees anymore, and Drew Brees has been there since 2000, I think 8. So they have Taysom Hill, who they paid a lot of money, and they still have Jameis Winston. So who knows who's going to be the starting quarterback? I don't think the Saints are very threatening on offense. They have Alvin Kamara, who is a threat, but Michael Thomas, I don't think he's that great of a receiver. I think he's a little bit
barely played last year.
Yeah, he was out the entire year. I think they lost Emmanuel Sanders. He's no longer there. He's in Buffalo.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the Saints are going to be that great this year. I think it will be a game that the Cowboys will have to wake up for and play for, but I don't think they're going to be. It should not be that much of a challenge. I feel like if Jameis Winston plays, it will be the Cowboys offense will have to show up because Jameis Winston, despite him being a guy who makes a ton of mistakes, I feel like with Sean Payton, he's not going to make as many mistakes.
And he recently got LASIK eye surgery, so hopefully he'll be able to see his own teammates.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, he's been known to throw the ball down the field and he can make plays, but ultimately I think the Cowboys are going to win 2 in a row and win this game 27-19. And nope, that was last week. They're going to win this game 26-16 and get back to 500 at 6-6.
Oof, 6-6. Do not like the sound of that. But going into week 13, their first, their 13th matchup against Washington. This is their first matchup against them, so that'll be. I don't like that they play each other. Like they're 13th, then 14th against the Giants, and then 15th against Washington. I don't like that. I wish they played them earlier in the year because how good this team can be. And I think that if you catch them while they're hot, then that's 2 losses right there. some of my key takeaway breakdowns are: you cannot let their defensive line, you cannot let their front seven dominate our offensive line. Do not let Fitzpatrick get hot. In this season, he has a few good games. Other games he looks incompetent. So hopefully he'll look incompetent this game. When the Cowboys played Washington last year, both games they got absolutely demolished by the run game. So hopefully their run defense will look way better with the help of Brett Urban. Hopefully he'll be able to help out a little bit defensive tackle. And also, how dominant will their front seven be? I think that's going to be the deciding factor of this game. If they show up, then it's going to be a very hard game. But if they do not show up, then it'll be a pretty easy game.
Yeah. Like I said, I brought up Washington a lot this podcast and briefly, and their defense is incredible. Their
secondary isn't that, in my opinion, isn't that good, but their front seven is dominant.
But that's the thing. Their secondary is average or a little bit above average, but they look amazing because of the front seven. And last
if you can cover Dak, then he'll be able to dice them up, in my opinion, at least.
If you can protect Dak, he'll throw the ball. But yeah, I mean, I was talking to before we had this podcast before the offseason of 2021, I said a front seven masks a bad secondary, and this secondary is average, and the front seven is one of the best in football. So if they're good enough to mask that secondary and make their secondary look better than they are, but. I think the Cowboys' offensive line at this point, I think at least Tyron Smith is going to be banged up or even out for this game, which will turn out to be a huge problem for the Cowboys.
Because Chase Young lines up on that side, I believe.
Yeah, like Chase Young, Montez Sweat's still going to be there.
A few other guys from Alabama.
A few other guys are going to be there. Like their team is just is so stacked in that front seven. But I mean, honestly, I'm looking at the offense.
Ryan
Fitzmagic is the quarterback, and I mean, I love Alex Smith, but Ryan Fitzpatrick, his last two seasons with the Dolphins, he's looked like a good quarterback, and.
No expectations are very good for a quarterback.
That's a fair point, but look at the head coach. Brian Flores has turned out to be an exceptional head coach, and what's their coach? Rivera. Ron Rivera is also a very good coach. So if you have a good head coach who knows how to help you succeed and put you in places for you to succeed, then you're going to be a better quarterback. And I mean, he's obviously built the offense, an offense with weapons. Antonio Gibson is going to be a second-year player. He had a breakout game against the Cowboys in which he rushed for almost 200 yards. Yeah. It was very Alfred Morris esque with what he used to do to the Cowboys defense. Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry, is a huge threat. He's a fast and physical wide receiver. Curtis Samuel, they can use basically anywhere. He can line up in the backfield. He can line up in the backfield. He can run routes. He can be that reverse guy coming off the side for a reverse. And then De'Ami Brown, who is another speedster from North Carolina, who can fly. So they have a ton of speed at receiver, and it's going to be another one of those games where the Cowboys secondary it cannot get caught napping because Fitzpatrick is good enough to hit you over the top, even at his age.
This is true.
But I do not think that the Cowboys are going. I don't think the Cowboys are going to be ready. And I think this is going to be the disaster of the year. Every year there is a disaster for the Cowboys, and this is going to be that game. So I'm taking Washington 34, Dallas 10. And
I think that especially after last year getting demolished 2 games, but they're 2 matchups, losing both of them. I think this late in the year they'll be ready. Because they're gonna have played way tougher teams in Washington. So
that's a good point. I'm really just looking at that front seven, and I just don't think that they can contain the front seven. I mean, the Cowboys' offense is good, and I think here's a good analogy. It's going to look like a lot like the Super Bowl. The Chiefs have a really incredible offense. Their quarterback is a really good quarterback. But they couldn't do anything because the front seven was getting after them. And I don't think that the Cowboys offensive line, as good as they are, can contain the front seven. Especially, I mean, if Tyron Smith was younger, Zach Martin was younger, yeah, absolutely. And Travis Frederick was still there, yeah, absolutely, they could do it. But they're just
Biotish is. Ooh, I'm so excited for him. Speaking of centers, but didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, it's fine. It's fine. But yeah, it's going to be one of those games where Biotish, he's going to be the center. He's going to have to be on his game. He's going to have to be ready. And Tyron Smith, he's older. Zach Martin is older. So I mean, there are holes that are a lot more exposed when you go up against a front seven like Washington, and I'm going to say, like, McCarthy, everyone's going to start talking about whether or not McCarthy is the right guy with the 34-10 loss and like being 6-7 late in the year, because it's going to be very similar to a Jason Garrett ran team where they're hovering around 500. They're beating the teams they should losing games that that they should be splitting because they don't have that guy they don't have that head coach that is just like is like a Belichick or a Andy Reid or a that's
other great coaches.
Yeah, they just have that guy who we don't really know, who has a Super Bowl, but like we don't really know how great he is. So I mean, I think like at 6-7, there will be questions for sure about how valuable is Mike McCarthy, and can you find a better guy?
True. And going into our, do you have anything else to say about that, or can I go into your next matchup?
No, yeah, going in that. I was about to do what you were doing, but yeah, go ahead.
So going into their 14th and 15th matchup against the Giants and the football team. Obviously, we've gotten into both of those teams, but I think that both these games will have big playoff implications. I think that Dallas, Giants, Washington, that's going to be the three-headed beast for this division. So even if they can split against Washington, if they could beat the Giants both times or split against them, I think that both of those could come down to late in the year, with who gets into the playoffs, who has a chance at a wild card. Because the last 4 games are Giants, Washington, Cardinals, who they haven't faced, and the Eagles again. So 3 of the last 4 games are against division matchups, which I think is good because it'll kind of bring out the best of people say the worst division. But yeah, we can just go into the Cardinals if you want, because other 3 we've already got into.
Yeah, I just wrote see week 5.
Yeah, exactly.
Per like they're the personnel, but I have the Giants winning this game at home. I have the Cowboys winning at home versus the Giants, and then the Giants coming right back late in the year and winning at home. Very close game, 27-26.
Okay.
And I mean, I have the Giants as a playoff contending team just based on their roster, and I think Daniel Jones is going to have a better year than he did last year, because it's a contract year for him, And you like contract year, is he the answer for the franchise, or is he a guy that you move on from and take someone else? And I think he's going to play better with the better, personnel. And I say they win by a point.
Okay.
And then we can
Yeah.
move on to Washington, because we got Washington. And Washington, I say, Cowboys play better, but lose 27-24.
Okay. So
Yeah.
going into the Arizona game, there are a lot of things that I think, especially with how late in the game this is, I think that you cannot let D-Hop get hot and let him run over the game. Because remember a few years ago when they played the Texans, and
I do.
it was
touring.
close.
I was actually
And then
out to tour Oklahoma back in the day.
yeah, and then the ball was on the hop or D-Hop, and he just ran around Cowboys defense, and he ended up winning the game. So hopefully that doesn't happen. They also have AJ Green, who is when he was at his top, he was one of the best wide receivers. You got to limit the big plays. Their front seven is nasty. Also Budda Baker, you can't let him get hot, because last year was definitely everyone just realized how good he was. Going back to almost a pick six, but DK Metcalf went and stopped him. But that's going to be, I think this game, I don't think Kyler Murray is that good of a quarterback. So I think them getting D-Hop definitely will help out his career.
Mhm.
I think that this game, if they can win this game, then I think it'll definitely help them in for their playoffs. And I think the Cardinals are going to be one of the better teams. Obviously, according to how all these teams did last season, this is one of the easiest schedules that they've had in a very long time. So I'd like to say that they could win this game, especially how late in the year it is. But I don't really. We'll have to get into it later, because there's at this late in the year, there's so much that could go right and so much that could go wrong.
Yeah. I'm sure you can see my trend, Owen, having a loss to the Giants and a loss to Washington.
So do you have them making the playoffs or no?
Well, I'm going to save that just based on, suspense,
Okay, go for it.
But I have them going into Arizona 6-9.
Oof.
And honestly, they're only at this position because of how their schedule is at the end of the year. With Washington, Giants, Washington.
Wait, did you say that they're gonna beat the Giants in Washington at the end, because there's 17 games?
No, I had Washington, Giants, Washington. I had loss. So they're at 6-9.
No, okay.
Going into Arizona.
Okay, yeah.
So and Arizona is this is the game for the Cowboys. Like, if they want any chance to make the postseason, this is the game that they have to win, especially at 6-9. And it's going to be a really tough task for them, because the Cardinals are loaded on offense. They have David Johnson, who have 3 or 4 years ago went off at this time of the year. He had huge games. He won my dad a fantasy championship, just because he just tore the league apart. And they also they signed AJ Green, who was not very happy in Cincinnati. AJ Green is older, but he's gonna be there. They still have D-Hop. D-Hop's a top 5 receiver in this league. Larry Fitzgerald is still gonna be around, and then they have Christian Kirk. So They have weapons on offense, and Kyler Murray is that dual threat quarterback that I would honestly rather have than Lamar Jackson because he's a better passer than Lamar Jackson. So, and say that again.
I said you are right about that.
Yeah. So, I think that this and going into the defense, Chandler Jones is a monster on the line. Isaiah Simmons is I think he's gonna have a huge improvement year. Buda Baker,
if they can find them a position.
Buda Baker is gonna be a problem. And I have the signing of Malcolm Butler, a good signing because he's not the best corner and he's not the worst corner, but he's a cornerback that has made huge plays in a season, and having him on your team is a definite upgrade and not a downgrade. So, this game is going to be very tough, and it's one of those. It's another December game that's very important. I don't know if
Cowboys do not fare well in late games.
Yeah, I don't know if the Dallas. I feel like, and this is not a knack on Dak. I feel like this is the game that Dak Prescott is going to either A, shine, or B, show his colors as a $40 million quarterback. Because this is the game where you haven't had the best year. You've kind of gotten screwed with having Washington, then the Giants. If I go back again, having Washington and then the Giants and then Washington again, and just like having three games against really tough division, well-rounded division opponents, and then you go into this game against the Cardinals and you're like, oh my gosh, we're 6-9 and we have to play the Cardinals, who I think are a playoff team preseason. They have the weapons on offense, they have the defense. It comes down to head coach is Kingsbury a good coach or not? Yeah. But I don't know if the Cowboys have the. I think the Cowboys are honestly one more defensive player away.
If you have them at 6-9 going into this late in the season, then if your opinion, there are much more needs than just one defensive player. Because if you have them this late, then who knows? They may need a coaching change or something. But I don't think they're gonna be this bad going into this late in the year. But who knows? I've been very wrong about this team before, so I kind of humbled myself from thinking how good they were.
So I wrote down shootout game. They lose 30-22 and basically are done at 6-10. And then for Philly, I said they win. They blow out Philly 24-13 and finish the season 7-10. Which it's a missing the playoff and a disappointment. But there are many games. There are a lot of games on the schedule that they could win. Yeah. But and I hopefully they get rid of McCarthy if they were to go 7-10.
Hopefully have to.
I'm looking back just really quick before you go. Falcons is a game that they could win. That's a game they can win. Patriots they can win, and then all of a sudden they're 9-8.
Yeah.
So it's and then also the Panthers they could be 10-7. So it just comes down to those three games. Those are winnable games for them. And those are the games that they should get up and win. But
in this division,
last
year you could win it with 6 to 7 wins.
Yeah, but I just think that this division is going to be a lot better. This is going to be the most improved division. I have the Cowboys. I had the Cowboys going 3. 3-8 in the division. Is that right? No, 3-6 in the division. I have them winning 2 against Philly and 1 against the Giants.
So 3-3.
Yeah, 3-3 in the division. I have them going 3-3, win against the Eagles twice, win against the Giants, lose against the Giants, and lose against Washington twice. And that's gonna be the deciding factor on whether or not they make or miss the playoffs. Is their division play.
That makes sense. I think that they're gonna be either. Well, you can't go 500 this year because of the added games. So I think they're either gonna go 9-8, or like you said, maybe even 10-7. But yeah, this was a really good episode. Hopefully,
do you think the Cowboys will beat the Eagles?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that Philly. Well, one thing about the last game of the season, division games, is that Philly, if Dallas does have a really good season, this could be their Super Bowl. It was like a few years ago, the end of 2016, when Tony Romo came in for that one drive, and then we had Mark Sanchez, that disaster, and they ended up winning that game. So like just stuff like that, like the end of the year for that one bad team, they could win and be like, okay, we have something to hold on to going into the off season.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, like I said, I've really like this. I'm like I said, whether if they win a game that I pick them to lose, I'm gonna come out here and be happy if they won. But this is just a very objective schedule, in my opinion, from a very, very beaten and scarred and numbed out fan who's not seen a ton of success a lot from this team.
Yeah. Ray and I are gonna have much better grasp on the season, how it's gonna go once training camp starts, and because they're back at Oxnard. I didn't know if you saw that, but they're back.
I did see that.
But yeah,
this is a very early breakdown of this schedule.
Definitely.
So and also, I mean, you might be like, Ray, you said that they would win this game, and I'd be like, well, it's week 10 and our entire offensive line is dead. So like
it all depends.
But yeah.
Anything you want to say before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I just have one quick thing to say, and I've been saving a quote for the very end of the show, and it's about Jerry Jones, because you can't talk about a failed season without bringing up Jerry Jones, and 7-10. I mean, if Owen has seen this, this movie or this clip, he's going to think this is hilarious. But if he hasn't, then I'm going to tell him to Google the scene that I'm referencing or building my quote on after the show is over. But I often wonder how many alternate timelines Jerry Jones destroys our franchise. Because, frankly, he doesn't have the cojones to take his hands off the freaking team. Isn't that right?
This is right.
But that's all I have to say. This has been episode 2. We are coming up on an hour and 28 minutes. I promise our episodes will be shorter. I apologize to the head of Delahanty Media, Nick. I apologize. This is another long episode, but 17 games, it's a lot of information.
Yeah.
How to do it. But
hopefully next week there'll be
we're gonna really try and cut it down to 30 minutes, but it's just one of those episodes where you had to get a lot of information out. But yeah,
next week we'll have more stuff to talk about and more positive things to talk about.
Yes, I'm apologize for my negativity, but I hope y'all enjoyed that quote. It really made me feel good. But yeah, I'm Ray Nickens.
And I'm Owen DeChico.
And this has been All About America's Team, episode 2. Take care, guys.